one more thing, unless our producer has anything he wants to tell. Okay. We've had this instrument for a while. This is the Whiskey Bottle Box Fiddle. It's not literally made from a whiskey bottle box. However, it is made from something that actually is the size of half of a box that a fancy bottle of whiskey or wine would come in. The Whiskey Bottle Box is really just a name. And the really observant notice that we use the Scottish spelling of whiskey. You can take note of that and do a little study on that. You have to be a real nerd like us to really care about it. But the sound holes on this instrument are quite small, actually. They're quite much smaller than one. There are some laws of acoustics called Helmholtz's laws. And there's been a lot of experimentation with that, notably the great Dr. Carleen Hutchins, who died almost a year ago, close to 100 years old, or maybe she was 100 years old. The greatest acoustic researcher who ever lived, in my opinion. Her story is very interesting, but that's not what we're talking about right now, but she has a very interesting story. But these sound holes, if that's all we had, they'd be a little bit small acoustically. Well, this uses bass ports. There's a bass port there. And there's a bass port right there. And we actually did do a lot of experimentation with the correct size and placement of the bass ports. This has a interesting non-scroll neck. This is actually very similar, or peg box rather, very similar to the peg boxes made by a luthier in Wales who we admire very much, Tim Phillips. I believe he makes a peg box with that type of look. I don't believe he has a design patent on it. So Tim, if you're watching this, and you do, we're sorry. We won't make them like this anymore. But where the neck is attached to the body, that's walnut. And there actually are screws that are used in the construction. The screws that are in there now are just decorative. The body is made out of pine, just regular old white pine in fairly large dimensions, the kind of dimensions that would be used for a box, about 3/16 of an inch, a little bit under. And it's box jointed. They're called box joints. You know, joints, fingers fit together, which is the simplest type of dovetail joint. It's been around for a long time. The top is a tone wood. It's a Sitka spruce, and I just want my little statement about Sitka spruce. One should never buy instruments made from Sitka spruce that is not eco-certified. Only the Canadian government's eco-certifies spruce. There's a lot of good spruce coming out of the northwestern United States and the southwestern part of Canada that is old logs that got caught on rocks or whatever and have been submerged in just over 32 degrees for about 100 years in some cases, completely waterlogged. Well, they dry out these logs and in a kiln, and they're completely, once they're dry of water, they're completely dry, as in not green wood. They make It makes excellent tone wood. It's actually a little bit cheaper than than European spruce or some tree that is endangered, and we love it. You know, the environment is very important, and I just wanted to get my little 2 cents worth in there about that. In fact, all of the woods we use we do the best we can to verify that they are responsibly farmed or rescued wood. Generally, the spruce as well as the cedar rescued from the bottoms of very cold rivers from the logging industry of 100 years ago. And I think I've said about enough for right now.